Hey, everybody, welcome to Stadium Drive, the podcast. This is a 10 episode series where we're going back through the first project that we released back in March of 2024 to basically go song by song, talk about whatever, maybe some fun gear we used, maybe some fun stories behind the lyrics or behind maybe playing it live and any other fun little tidbits. Today we're on episode 5. I can't believe we're already halfway through this thing.
We're halfway there.
Woo!
All right, sorry.
Obligatory Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
So today's episode is about the fifth song on the record, the last song on side A, if you're a vinyl fan. And this is easier said than done. Was really kind of the we've talked in the episodes leading up to this. We're starting to climb. We're starting to add more instrumentation. There's kind of starting to be, it's going from like that folk Americana almost to like a classic rock vibe.
Yeah.
And to me, this is like the most like Tom Petty-esque. I guess I don't know. Like
This is also the first single, at least, that was entirely a co-write. I came up with kind of the main musical idea, I suppose, and you wound up kind of coming up with the melody and lyrics to it.
actually,
I think it's one of the first songs that we kind of completely co-wrote.
Yeah.
Normally, not always, but normally one of us will write most of a song and then bring it to the other, and we kind of help each other get the last 10-20% there. But this one was like kind of more of a 50-50 situation.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. To that point, I mean, I take it for granted. I think this was, you had shown me the, so if you haven't listened, you should go listen, or if you haven't listened to it in a while, you should go back and listen.
Definitely.
You had brought that, the zhing, 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 zhing,
Yeah, that
zhing,
kind
zing.
of lead guitar part.
Yeah, and you were like, I don't,
no idea. Yeah.
yeah, not quite sure what we were doing with it. You had given me the chord progression, and then I sat with it for a while. I think this was one of the last, or one of the later songs to fall into place because we weren't quite sure what we were going to do with it.
Yeah, we tend to agree.
And yeah, I was so appreciative that you were like, go ahead and write to it.
Well, when I first wrote that kind of guitar riff, I instantly thought it reminded me of some almost like Tom Petty-esque, 70s, 80s rock stuff. And I know that's your wheelhouse. And so it felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. And I was, and this happens to me frequently. I write stuff and I kind of hit a wall with it where it's like, my brain can take this thing no further. Like it needs to just be handed off to someone else. And it was the perfect marriage for this one, especially.
Yeah, I very selfishly was very, very glad you had brought it to my attention because I feel like all the stuff we had kind of done up until this point kind of had a brighter, like kind of a brighter sound. And this one, we start bringing out the electric guitars. We start like, you really started to kind of break out the distortion and kind of some of those like dirtier sounds.
Is this the first time on the album that a real snare drum is even hit? Well, I guess you do some train beat on MST, but
yeah, but that's like a
time you're getting the classic rock and roll sort of 4-on-the-floor drum beat,
Yeah, actually, so before we dive into that, yeah, this is the first one with the full drum kit. There's a harmonica on this, which I broke out.
Yeah.
I'd gotten a
Great touch, by the way. I'm glad you decided to go that direction.
Well, like, I mean, this little harmonica, I've had this since I was like in middle school. Key of C, like,
Yeah, perfect.
pulled it out of the bin at Raymond's probably when I was like, like 12 or whatever.
Back when we were doing the Beatles cover band.
Yeah, well, actually,
There's some real fun insider info. That's some deep, deep lore, guys.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny about, so actually, I'm thinking about this just
Does your
now.
dad still have those on YouTube?
I bet he does.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet he's.
Don't look those up, people.
Yeah.
Don't look those up.
Cut that.
Yeah, cut that.
But yeah, I feel like this is actually kind of ironic. So speaking of kind of the Tom Petty, I bought that harmonica because I wanted to learn the harmonica part to Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Sure.
And then obviously like you can learn like the Piano Man, just icons.
So
or
many
whatever.
classic ones, yeah.
But yeah, so all of a sudden I dusted this thing off. It looked like it had been run over by a car. Just like it's not in good shape. It never had a case. It just like was always just out in the open.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this song we'll get into a couple of instrumentation pieces, but yeah, the drum kit, the harmonica is going to be on this. Yeah, we have some really fun things guitar wise, but just to get into kind of the structure and sort of the lyrics of the song. Easier said than done. Kind of self-explanatory, right? Like it's kind of funny when we hear people
A
say
lot
that
of
phrase.
so I want to say this really quick too. A lot of your songs, like on their face, are self-explanatory, but yet you find a way to kind of insert a lot of it, both personal experience and deeper meaning into these things. So,
Well, not to be like pretentious or like
mm,
too into the weeds on it, but like what I kind of did, especially for this one, was I had the subject matter I wanted to write about,
mhm,
but instead of just writing like there was a girl and she
mhm,
broke my heart and like that was it.
like
Like I
every other great song.
well, I mean
No
honestly,
wonder we're not getting on the radio.
but like so what I started thinking was like so this song has a lot of natural imagery like most of our songs does do and so um like the song's kind of about like a like very tumultuous relationship. So imagery like being out in the sea like with waves crashing like it's not so easy to be caught up
Mhm,
in the waves,
mhm,
not to try to escape or like the imagery of like basically gambling like a bunch of money away, like basically taking a huge gamble. And so it's like uh um I'm blanking on the lyrics right. It's kind of
mhm, it's
hard
okay.
out of
Yeah.
context, but like you roll the dice and then you give your heart away.
Mhm,
Basically like hey, I'm gonna take a leap into this situation,
mhm,
not knowing what it's gonna happen.
yeah.
I could potentially like go well or it could potentially hurt very badly.
Mhm,
So like, but it's kind of this very like it's easier said than done, right? And
mhm,
so all of the verses start with a like kind of like a like celestial or kind of like like outer space body.
mhm,
So it goes like the stars they only shine,
mhm,
um, the sun the sun is warm but unaware, the
mhm,
planets tell a tale, uh, you know, the moonlight has a way. So it
mhm,
has all these like space elements. But
mhm,
yeah, it basically tells the story of like um, meeting someone, kind of being in that place where you're sort of taken advantage of, but you have a threshold for it, and
mhm.
then kind of like the easier said than done of like it's so easy to say like you should leave,
Right.
um, but sometimes when you're in it, you don't know that maybe it's not the best
Right.
thing. So
No, for
even though you're caught up in the waves, like sometimes it's hard to like want to escape. Anyways,
mhm,
um, but I was using so I took the subject matter and then I tried to retell the story using like natural imagery
mhm,
and like
mhm.
imagery from other things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so with that, the subject matter, it starts to get a little bit.
Mhm,
This is the one where it goes from like sad boy folk to
mhm.
almost just a little bit like I kind of have a bone to pick, you know, like I'm kind of
Like a few.
like I'm
Like,
kind
yeah.
of like pissed, like,
Yeah, no,
and so it kind of starts to like take a little bit more of a dirtier
definitely.
take. But
Definitely.
and you wrote that beautiful lick part. Like, can you talk a little bit about like as we were building that sound with the like all these new elements? I guess.
No, I'd initially written that thing a lot slower, I think, and imagined it more R&B-ish.
Huh.
And a little, and I think it kind of probably more started that way just because I couldn't play the lick very well yet. So I was playing it a lot slower. But then once I,
Alex not being able to play a guitar
well,
lick well.
yeah, it's funny because I wrote it and I can't play it well. But over time it evolved into like, well, actually, this is kind of fun to play more as like a mid-tempo like kind of rock beat
Hmm.
thing. And I think it was probably at that point that I decided to throw it to you. But no, I don't have a whole lot to say about writing it. Found a fun little thing on the guitar. This is honestly the way I write most often, and maybe this is the only thing I take away from this is usually the way I write is I find a thing that I enjoy playing on guitar, whether it be a complicated chord progression, a simple chord progression, but there's just you find some little way of playing said chord progression that makes it intriguing to you and kind of hooks your ear and makes you think, hey, there's something a little more to this than meets the eye.
We could do a
So,
whole episode about like playing things that you enjoy playing.
oh yeah.
Like isn't that such a it's such a funny and like simple concept, but it's
Hmm.
like yeah, I found this and it like feels good.
Yeah,
And it's like
it's
a
just how I've learned to write because
yeah,
it's like for me, I can't even get to the point where I can start envisioning a melody or lyrics unless I can sit there for hours just looping the guitar part. And if that guitar part to me isn't good enough to loop for hours, then it's not good enough to write a song over.
sure.
So that's kind of my minimum threshold, I think, for writing. So
Yeah.
it's a weird thing, but that's just kind of, if you hear like one of our songs and there's a little guitar thing kind of built into it, that is why. It's because that's
Mhm.
kind of my bottom standard for making something, giving something like an element of uniqueness. So you're getting past just a chord progression that's been done a million times before.
Sure. Which
Mhm.
I'll shout you out here on this too, because I feel like that chord progression, you know, the in C, it's pretty,
Hmm.
you know, it's basically kind of like a C,
A minor sort of thing. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But like but yeah, I think the way that you switch up the phrasing, I think makes it super interesting.
And I think we kind of again collabed on in that sense because I had that lead part sort of written, but I think the underlying chords that we decided to accompany it really made
Mm.
an impact on the way the verses were structured and then the way the choruses came about.
Yeah,
So
I think you wrote that chorus in this room. Like
I
basically,
think
we were together and we didn't even know what the chorus was
right.
gonna be.
Hmm.
We were like singing, you know, the
Yeah.
gibberish where it's just
Yeah.
like, "Da,
Yeah.
da, 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 da," like
Yeah.
you're just like you know
Totally.
kind of what the melody's supposed to
Hmm.
be, but you don't know what the words are yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, as we kind of start to, I mean, we talked a lot about the instrumentation. You want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about
What?
bringing in that?
Whoa! My computer's acting on its own. That's cool. Yeah. Pro Tools is ready. Let's what should we start with here? I mean, hopefully you've listened to the song already. If you haven't, go listen to it. Let's just isolate some harmonica real quick here, just because this was maybe my favorite thing about this whole song. Let's go here. So here's the harmonica by itself. And the only crazy thing I did with this mix-wise was I ran it to its own reverb. That's kind of, there's a guitar in there too, but it's basically doing a phasing kind of stereo thing. Oh, and my computer's going to cooperate. Let's try that again. And I could take the guitar out real quick here. So there's just the harmonica. So yeah, really big room sound without. So I'm really leaning on that room sound for that harmonica.
It's
And
like
I'm
swirls around. It's
yeah,
got so much color to it.
yeah, I really do think it just warms it up and makes it really dance, and especially if you're in headphones or something or a car, you'll hear it swing around a little bit. And then yeah, I actually down the road decided to start putting the guitars in here a little bit too. So you get a little bit of that here. And again, it's just kind of making those dirty guitars swirl and crunch a little bit in context, you know. Let's get all that out now. In context, you get this, you know. I take that room out.
It just kind of dead.
Yeah, it just kind of dies, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I love the way that harmonica came out. Very, very nice stuff.
And this is when you produced the drums, the whole drum kit for the first time.
Yeah, and nothing.
Not the whole first time in your life.
Yeah, nothing crazy to speak of when it comes to the drum mix. We can just isolate those though real quick. Here's our drums, just dry. Nothing fancy here. I oftentimes basically double the snare, stereo it, especially since for this project we did have 2 mics on the kick. I basically always added an extra snare track, which is here. There it is. So there's your extra kind of snare, just kind of fatten everything up. And then here's the reverb for all the drums. That reverb, nice and dry, clean, some reverb. And I believe we went kind of garage here. I guess this is technically a wood room kind of thing, but I think we wanted a little like junkier sounding drums, and I think we did the trick.
To match the actual set itself. I guess we can talk a little bit about bringing this drum set back to life.
Yeah, and we need to do and just flash some pictures of the drum set. Maybe take some close-ups of where there's still some mold.
Yeah.
Because man, is it a beautiful drum kit.
Well, the thing is, it's the drum set I got as a kid. Like my dad was a drummer, and so I remember literally in this room when we were like in middle school playing your drum set.
Oh yeah,
and just loving
that
like
thing was great.
like learning almost kind of like self-teaching myself, just some basic like rock beats. And so I always like loved that. That was kind of the first instrument I picked up.
For sure.
And so I convinced my folks to give me a set, and that set sat in my basement for the better part of like, 20 years
Well, it's
now.
only serendipitous that it wound up here after you learned on my kits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that basement, it flooded a couple times, so that thing took on some water damage. It's a basement that's pretty damp in most cases anyways, and so yeah, we pulled that thing out.
We
I had
also need to flash some pictures of your basement just
Yeah.
for context.
Yeah,
I want this whole bit to be a montage of pictures of the drum set and your
sorry in
crappy
advance, Lincoln,
basement,
for
yeah.
the editing.
Yeah.
But no, so like, what's really cool is like, so we pulled that thing out. I actually got a can of like Kills, like primer,
Oh my
and I
God, that's
covered up
right.
all the black mold. Like I sanded it. I took all the metal parts off. I dropped them in like vinegar because that's what the internet told me to. Actually, that's what Ferry told
Hopefully
me to
that's
do.
real. Yeah. Fairy told you it's real.
And I took like a little toothbrush and like not the one I use every day, but like an extra toothbrush, and I like scrubbed all the rust
Your
off.
electric toothbrush.
Yeah. And and then I put the thing back together. Ferry put all of his mics back on it like we did.
Yep.
So that drum set is original to like probably the 2007 or 8 probably.
That's
Yeah. I bet
older than my car probably.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's
awesome.
probably in just about as good a shape as your car too.
About
Yeah,
as good as
that bumper's still holding on with
Yep.
some duct tape
Well,
for sure.
just a little bit of duct tape.
But yeah, so yeah, it would be kind of fun to put some photos of that, and it was kind of cool to see that almost like relic from childhood again, kind of back when you and I were first playing music together, and then this crappy drum set makes its comeback.
Yeah.
I know Ferry hated the fact that we used it.
Oh, so
He was like,
angry.
Ferry has Caleb Ferry, our drum tech, he has some beautiful drums, and he's like, "Will you please just use my set? Like it's gonna sound way better." And we're like, "Nope,
No.
we're gonna opt to use the crappiest drum set ever."
Yep. We want. I think it stuck with the concept. We really wanted to be as simple and low maintenance and kind of as lo-fi as possible, while still going for kind of a big, folksy record, rock sound. So.
Yeah, and I think even Ferry will admit like it's not like it broke the project. It's just it probably could have been a little bit.
It does for him. He'll tell you it does for him, but he's also a kind of an a-hole. So.
Well, he's we'll bleep that, and we'll say when you say he's kind of an a-hole, we'll bleep it and say he's kind of a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Or just make the bleep way longer. Like pause it on the bleep, and so it looks like I'm swearing for like a minute, and he thinks I said something way worse. That'd be.
He'll love that.
He'll love that. That'll be good.
Cool. Well, anyway, you stuck with us this long.
Yeah.
This is again, this is the end of side A. So if you're a vinyl fan, if you're listening to Scenic City on vinyl,
Yeah.
that's all of.
Which I highly recommend, by the way, if you haven't, if you're a vinyl fan or just have never like taken the time to go buy a record or like get a vinyl player, now's your chance. You should do it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Trust me.
I mean,
you'll not regret it.
First of all, great pitch, but bias aside, I do think the vinyl is the way to consume this record.
Even if you just want to look at it, like look at it.
Yeah, well, actually, let's plan on later on in the series. We'll talk about the artwork and everything.
We do have to do that because a lot of manpower went into all the art that's in this awesome thing. So that'll be fun to talk about for sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us for the entirety of side A. Tune in next time. We'll get over to the B side and kick it off. Appreciate y'all.
It's not so